The month of December, I read 10 books and I had a 5-star and I had my first 1-star, or at least I had my first below 2 stars. So let's see what they were. Hey guys, happy 2026. We are officially in the new year. I hope you had a great Christmas and a great New Year's. Wanted to do a December recap of the stuff that I read before it got too far into January. So without further ado, let's talk some books. The first book that I read in December was called How to Walk in Victory Every Day of Your Life by Charles and Frances Hunter. This was a dynamite healing team back in the 1980s. They were an awesome ministry couple. I read a book of theirs, How to Heal the Sick, back in November, and I really, really, really loved it. This one, it was okay. I didn't like it as much as How to Heal the Sick. I feel like these guys have a really good grasp and revelation when it comes to healing the sick, ministering for healing and faith, and that kind of thing. So on those topics, they're absolutely great. Some of the other topics they went into in this one, it was okay. It just seemed kind of repetitive and not quite as on the mark as How to Heal the Sick. So I gave this one 3 stars. It was not my favorite from those guys. Still really love them as a ministry couple though. So the second book that I read in the beginning of December was The Book Thief by Marcus Zusk. I think his last name might be. Sorry for mispronouncing that. It is a historical fiction, and we follow this young German girl in Nazi Germany during World War II. I knew going in that this was not going to be necessarily a happy book. Glad I read it. It was good. Definitely cried a couple of times. You follow this girl, and right from the get-go, she goes through some really hard stuff. Her mother gives her up to a foster family. They're a little on the rougher, crass side a bit, especially the foster mom, but there's a lot of love there. So there is a lot of hope, endurance, strength in hard times, and that kind of thing, but there is definitely a lot of sad plots to it as well. Probably the biggest interesting thing about The Book Thief is the fact that the narrator of the book is actually death itself, which was a very interesting choice. I would say it definitely worked. The author, I feel like, was very careful to not take it too morbid, which would be very easy to do considering he chose death as the narrator. It gave another layer of interest to the story because you're following the girl and her family and her friends, but you're also following what's going on in the world through death's perspective as well as the story unfolds. I thought it was well done. I enjoyed it and would recommend if you're interested in something like that. I believe I gave that one about 3.5 stars. So by this time in December, I was trying to get into Christmas books, but I hadn't been able to get to the library. And so I was kind of at the mercy of Libby on my Kindle. And so the next one that I tried was a hold that I had through Libby, and it was Emily Henry's Book Lovers. I really wasn't sure what to expect when it came to this book. Booktubers that I watch didn't necessarily like it because they were going into it with the idea that this was going to be about 2 people that loved reading, and so they would read together and, that kind of thing, because it's called Book Lovers. That's really not what the characters are. They work in books, they work in publishing, and they do love books. Since I kind of had heard that going in, I wasn't expecting it. So since I wasn't expecting it, I was open to whatever it was, and I actually really, really enjoyed this. I think this is probably my second favorite Emily Henry, with my first one probably being Beach Read, not gonna lie, because that one's set in Michigan, so gotta stay loyal. It was actually perfect for Christmas time. And this is why. The main characters are basically those people like in the Hallmark Christmas movies that aren't picked. It was really, really fun to read around Christmas time because it was like seeing the opposite of it. I mean, that being said, it was not set during Christmas time. There really weren't any huge Christmas themes. I actually really, really enjoyed this. I didn't see the kind of twist at the end. I kind of got suspicious that there was something up about halfway in the middle. But then when we got to the end, I didn't fully predict it, which was nice. I loved that the main female and the main male character, they fit. They understood each other. They were like the same. That was really, really cute to see. Basically, Book Lovers is about our main female character named Nora. She has noticed that usually if she is dating somebody and they head back home for the holidays or a vacation or something like that, they wind up falling for somebody from their past, and then she gets a phone call being like, hey, we're done. She's the other person in the Hallmark movie that gets dropped off. She is definitely on the more aggressive side when it comes to career. She's focused. She loves working and doing what she does. She takes care of her sister and her sister's family, all of that stuff. The main male character is Charlie, who is a little more on the brooding side, a little grumpy, but he is very similar in that he is a book editor, but he is also very focused on his work and takes it very seriously and loves the big city and all of that stuff. So Nora's sister sets up this trip. It's supposed to be this sister fun girl trip to reconnect, and she's trying to give Nora the small town trip experience type thing. So they explore the town. Of course, Charlie happens to be there. There's a bookshop, and then all of the stuff that happens. So it's a good read. I would very much recommend, because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. That one, I believe I gave 3.75 stars. Yeah, I liked that one. So after Book Lovers, we went full on Christmas. I finally was able to hit the library, got some physical books, and the first one that I kicked out is Murder, She Wrote, A Killer Christmas. I am a big Murder, She Wrote fan, not gonna lie. It's one of my comfort shows. I've always loved it. It was okay. I very much enjoyed it because I love Murder, She Wrote. So for me, it was like being kind of in the city, like in the world of Murder, She Wrote through these pages, which was a lot of fun. I wouldn't say that it's writing that had the most depth to it or a mystery that just was really well fleshed out. This one is centered in Cabot Cove. So we stay in Jessica Fletcher's hometown. And of course, so then you have Jessica Fletcher, Dr. Seth Hazlitt, the sheriff, and you have, I believe her name is Eve Simpson, who is the real estate agent. And she comes into play with this one because the murder is centered around the selling of a big estate in Cabot Cove. There's a wealthy couple that's come to purchase this old mansion type place. And the people that used to own it, their kids have come back around, and the son especially is saying that he doesn't want them to buy it and that kind of thing. The wife of the couple purchasing the property is the one that gets killed. And so just trying to figure that out. Again, it was okay. I noticed there was a lot of town business, city meetings, city planning meetings. They're getting ready for Christmas, so it definitely has that Christmas part to it. I noticed that the murder didn't really happen until like halfway through, which was completely fine. The murder and then figuring out who the murderer was, I think there was only like 20 pages left. There wasn't a lot left, which I was a little sad at because I wanted to see more what happened afterwards, because you actually get into the Christmas festivities and that kind of thing and kind of more wrap up. But it is what it was. So this one I gave about 3 stars, not because I didn't enjoy it, but because if I'm rating it as a mystery, it wasn't the best plot that was fleshed out. It wasn't really the cleverest of mysteries. So that was that one. So the next one that I hit was on my Kindle, and it is called The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. This is the 3rd book in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe series. I don't know if that's the name of the series, but that's the 1st book. It is basically small town, cozy vibes, all that stuff. I will say there is spice in these books. The spice just kind of comes out of the blue sometimes, because you have this sweet, wholesome, nice little town, and then all of a sudden, spice scene. So just be little wary of that. This one was pretty cute. So you're following, I believe her name is Kira. She just bought the Christmas tree farm. And when she bought it, she didn't know it was a Christmas tree farm. She just thought it was a farm, because apparently she doesn't really like Christmas all that much, or she's just in a very grumpy place in her life. There were things about this book that I really enjoyed, and there were things that I was like, I don't know if that's really realistic. But I mean, are we reading these books for realistic? I leave that up to you. So Kira buys this Christmas tree farm. She's always been dependent on people, so she is fiercely determined to do this entirely on her own, which, props. Go for it. You go, girl. But because of this, she is staunchly against receiving any kind of help whatsoever. I kind of see that with the character setup, but I kind of feel like in the story that was taken a little bit too far. it kind of felt a few times like she was just being stubborn about this for no really good reason. But that was just me. On the flip side, you have Bennett. He is the brother of the original female main character from the first book, the one that took over the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. He is coming to visit his sister and is staying with her for the holidays. He is Mr. Fix-It, and he's trying to stop being Mr. Fix-It because in the past with his relationships, girls have just taken advantage. So he is trying to stop solving problems. And Kira is trying to not let anybody solve her problems for her. So it's an interesting dynamic that the author set up between these two characters, that they gravitate towards each other and they're both fighting their natural instincts. If you're looking for cute, cozy Christmas, this fits the bill. This one I gave about 3.25 stars. So that was that one, and that was a lot of fun. After that, I think it was like the week before Christmas, and so I was going hardcore Christmas stuff. So this guy, I did not read this entire thing because this is actually 4 novels from Charles Dickens. I checked this out because of A Christmas Carol. I have read A Christmas Carol before. I love it, thoroughly enjoyed it. This one's like 4.5. I've debated giving it like 5 stars. I love Christmas Carol. This makes me love Charles Dickens as an author. I need to read more of his books to see if he is one of my favorite authors. Christmas Carol, oh my goodness. It is, I love this book. I think that Charles Dickens' humor and personality really shines through with this book. Yeah, it's just good. Even if you just read the first couple of paragraphs, it just seems like he's having fun. It just seems like he's playing with words. For example, at the end of the first paragraph, it goes, "Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Mind, I don't mean to say that I know of my own knowledge what there is particularly dead about a doornail. I might have been inclined myself to regard a coffin nail as the deadest piece of ironmongery in the trade. But the wisdom of our ancestors is in the simile, and my unhallowed hands shall not disturb it, or the country's done for. You will therefore permit me to repeat emphatically that Marley was as dead as a doornail." It's cheeky. Charles Dickens being cheeky. And it's not necessarily that way throughout the entire story, but there's definitely different points where it shines through. Like the other part that I just absolutely cracked me up was when he is waiting for the second ghost, the second spirit. "You wish to be anonymous. I wish to be left alone," said Scrooge. Also, side note, if you haven't watched it, Muppet Christmas Carol is a treasure. Second of the Three Spirits. So, Second of Three Spirits, Scrooge has already gone through his partner Marley and then the ghost of Christmas past. And so he's ready. He knows the second one is coming. He's got himself all set up. Gentlemen of the free and easy sort, who plume themselves on being acquainted with a move or two, and being usually equal to the time of day, express the wide range of their capacity for adventure by observing that they are good for anything from pitch and toss to manslaughter, between which opposite extremes, no doubt, there lies a tolerably wide and comprehensive range of subjects. So it is Old English, but if you can delve through and hear what he's saying, he's basically saying guys who try to show themselves that they're like a man of the world or they know what's up will brag and boast that they are up for adventure, they can handle anything, and they are experts at anything from like tiddlywinks to committing murder. Like they're great at this wide range of things. And it cracks me up because I've guys are so much like that, and girls can be too. But I've come across guys that like they're so much like that, where they brag about like how adventurous that they can be, and it just cracks me up when I see anything that resonates from back then and it also rings true today. It just makes me happy and really cracks me up that he was able to put it in such just poetic. It's like he's playing with words. It literally is like he's playing with words, and I love it. This writing right here, and if you know, you know, but it reminds me of like how Fred Astaire dances. It just comes out of him. It's just natural. Dickens was born to write. It's just so funny. The other thing that was funny to me was but this leading up, he was basically saying that Scrooge had prepared himself for anything. So he actually says that nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him. He was ready for anything from a baby to a rhinoceros. Just the silliness of that just makes me so happy. And then it immediately goes into saying, now being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing. Consequently, and it goes on to say that basically nothing happens. He's sitting in his room and nothing happens. But then he sees that there's like a light that had shown up under the door. And so he realizes that the spirit is actually in the next room. So he goes and pokes his head in, and that's when he sees the spirit of Christmas Present. And it's the classic where he's in the room and there's a bunch of food and all that stuff. So anyway, Christmas Carol, it's only 5 chapters. It's actually only 5 staves. He calls it stave for some reason, but it's only 5 chapters. It's really not that long. Highly recommend checking out. Definitely around Christmas time. It's a classic for a reason. I love that book. So that book was amazing. We've gotten into the books that I really love, because the next one is a 5-star book for me. Love it. Okay. It is Agatha Christie. It is A Holiday for Murder, and it is amazing. If you like mystery and you have not read Agatha Christie, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your book life? Need to check her out. She is the queen of mystery for a reason. There's some Agatha Christie's that when you read them, she doesn't give you enough clues to be able to predict what happens at the end. I would say that And Then There Were None was kind of that way. You didn't really see the breadcrumbs to really put it together towards the end. Maybe some did. If you did, great, awesome. This one, though, you definitely can. And I love stories like that where if you are paying attention, you will pick up on the clues and the hints, and you have a really good idea as to what is going on. But this one has such a good twist at the end. It's so satisfying. It is your classic older rich gentleman gathers his family together for Christmas. He is talking about his inheritance, and he's got a lot of money, and there's some estranged siblings, some estranged relatives, and then in the course of it, he gets killed. You got to figure out who done it. This is I apologize, probably not saying that, but I love the character. It is one of Agatha Christie's most famous detectives, Hercule Poirot. If you watched Death on the Nile with Gal Gadot in it, he was the detective in that one. So this one I actually had read before, and I forgot, because I think I own this one. I think it's up north, because when I looked up the cover, I recognized the cover, and I immediately recognized the dedication in this, and this was a lot of fun. So Agatha Christie's brother-in-law challenged her that her deaths, the deaths in her murder mysteries, were too quaint. They were too clean. You could scarcely see that a murder had happened. And so he challenged her to do a murder where there was no doubt that a murder had happened and the body was dead. She dedicates this book to him and took on the challenge. I just think that's just incredibly fun and really just cute to see. The next quote that she goes leading into the book was from Macbeth, and it says something along the lines of, "Who would have known that the old gentleman had so much blood in him?" So that being said, was the murder bloody and gruesome? Yes. But as the reader, you don't see the murder happening in progress. You see the aftermath. You come upon the scene as the characters do, and it's described what's happened, but it's not like in first person or in detail. So I'm not big on violent and creepy or scary or gruesome or anything like that. I'm not huge on that, and like it didn't really bother me because it's kind of like watching a CSI or something like that, where they're talking about just like how it happened very matter-of-factly. So very much recommend, even if it's not Christmas time. This is one of my favorites. 5 stars. Love this one. Absolutely love this one. So after Agatha Christie, I picked up The Family Game by Catherine Steinman. This one was a recommendation by Naughty Dog Books. Sweet, sweet ladies. If you don't follow their channel, you totally should. And I actually commented on one of their Instagram posts for Christmas recommendations, and they recommended this one. I'm so glad they did. So this is a thriller mystery set at Christmas time. And again, I'm not big into huge suspense or horror or anything like that, but I can handle a little thriller. This I zipped through in like a day. Did not want to put this one down. So everything I say is in the front cover of the book, so I'm not giving any huge spoilers away. This follows Harriet, who we call Harry. She is a successfully published author. She just got engaged to this man, Edward, who is the oldest son of a very, very powerful and prominent business family. And he hasn't been super close with his family. He's kept them at a distance because of how complicated they can be. This very much gave me Inheritance Game vibes. I don't know if you've read that young adult series, The Inheritance Games, but this kind of very much had that same vibe to it. But this is much, much more an adult book. Much more an adult book. There's a lot more mature and kind of creepier themes to this book. So there really wasn't any spice scenes. There was some talk of like attraction and that kind of thing that maybe shouldn't have been there. There is murder in it, and there were some more suspenseful moments. I really enjoyed the world that she created, and I knew it was going to take a turn because from the get-go, it gives you a prologue, a glimpse of what's coming up at the end. So I knew it was going to turn bad. Edward's father is basically very much the patriarch of the family. He gives Harriet this tape that he hints has stuff for potentially a book on it. So she agrees to listen to it. And when she listens to it, it actually turns out that it sounds like it's a confession to a pretty grisly murder that has to do with the family's past. And so she's trying to figure out, is this a test? Is this a game? Is this real? What's going on? Because the family and the father especially seems to really be into games, sometimes rather cruel games. But during the Christmas holiday season, they have these traditions. And that's where it kind of reminded me of the Inheritance Games a bit. One of the really cool aspects about this, though, is their family house is this castle that they had brought over from Europe generations ago. Generations ago, they brought over from Europe brick by brick and reconstructed it in America. And the idea of that just absolutely captures my imagination. I love the idea of that. So the world and the characters that she made, I really, really enjoyed. And I kind of wish that there would have been a bit of a redemption for the majority of them, and we would have had sequels and been able to flesh the characters out and really fleshed out the world that she made. But I knew it wasn't that kind of a book. And it's not. It's not. It gets wrapped up at the end. But this one, 4 stars, very solid. I really liked this one. This was a really, really fun read for me. If you are in a thriller mood, if you like that kind of thing, I liked this one. This was a good one. So while I was reading Family Game and some of the murder mysteries, I was also reading this guy. This is One Bright Christmas by Catherine Spencer. It is a Thomas Kinkade book, I guess. Thomas Kinkade, if you don't know, he is a painter. He is a very talented painter. Like on the cover, that is actually one of his paintings. He apparently branched into books, so I figure, why not? Check it out. This one, it wasn't my favorite. Yeah, this one was a little bit on the cheesier side, not gonna lie. There's multiple storylines going on. You have a young girl named Lauren who just came from the big city, and she's this lawyer. She meets this guy who has this little daughter. It's very cute. It's very, very cute. Second storyline is a woman, older middle-aged, named Lucy. They're shooting a Christmas movie in their town, and the main star of this Christmas movie is this guy named Craig. He and Lucy were together, and they were going to run off to Hollywood together, but he stood her up, and he ended up going off to Hollywood. She never knew why he stood her up, completely broke her heart. So now he's back. They are very much settled in their lives. So she really has no interest to talk to him whatsoever. But he kind of would like to reconnect. It's that getting fleshed out, stuff like that. The last storyline is this much, much older couple, Lillian and her husband finds this dog outside that he absolutely falls in love with, but she can't stand the dog and doesn't want him to keep the dog. And her husband is really, really sad and upset that she won't let him keep this dog. So If you're looking for a really chill, not a lot of super depth Christmas, clean, wholesome story, this definitely fits it. There was a lot of mention of God and church and praying for guidance and things like that. So I did very much appreciate that. But as a book, as the writing went, I kind of feel like the writing and the plot could have been a little snappier. But that's just me. So this one I also gave about 3 stars. So take that as you will. The last and final one that I wrapped up for the month of December is called Mother-Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. I'm not gonna lie, this is my first even close to 1 star. I gave this like a 1.75 star. This did not do it for me, which was a shame because the premise is actually really, really cool. So the premise is Mother-Daughter Murder Night. It actually isn't just one mother and one daughter. It's a mother, her daughter, and then her mother. So you have a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. I don't want to trash books. I don't want to just like rag on it. I will just sum it up of I would not necessarily recommend this one. Multiple aspects of it that seem kind of unrealistic. If you read the Goodreads reviews, you'll see it. The relationships amongst the women aren't really the healthiest, which is okay. I mean, you get a place to build from. But the grandmother she's a very, very strong businesswoman, which is great. It's wonderful. But they stress the anti-men thing to the point where it really just seems like she's super bitter and she's constantly just trying to take dominance over any man she comes into contact with. The mystery itself was interesting, but there was a couple of things in the book, one especially that they figure out about 3/4 of the way, and that it should have been tipped off from the get-go. If you live in America, especially now, and you come across this, you'll recognize it almost immediately. I don't see how you cannot. And so just kind of stuff like that. And then like the plot just kind of seemed to drag on for me. Anyway, not exactly one I would recommend. Take that as you will. The last book in December wasn't really the best for me, but had the 5-star with Agatha Christie. I had a lot of fun reading this past December and during the Christmas time. 10 books total at the end of December, which was fun. Going into January, very, very ready for January. I've already started some stuff. It'll be a little bit different than what I've done up till now, just for the month of January. But it's gonna be fun, and it's what I feel like doing, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you had an amazing Christmas time and a happy new year, and welcome to 2026. This year is going to be amazing. God bless you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.